Hello and welcome to this review of the Dewalt DCD998 drill. We're going to put this drill through its paces, tell you what we think about it, and also try out a variety of different materials including concrete blocks and wood. We're also going to compare it with the older DCD996 that it replaces, show you the differences. You can see one of the main ones here is it's got a massive handle. The other one is that it also has a new feature called Power Detect. The Power Detect feature, when coupled with a bigger battery like this 8 amp hour battery, rather than with a 5 amp hour battery, gives it 29% more power. And we're going to just show you exactly how that works. So here is the Dewalt DCD998 drill. This replaces the older 996. We'll be putting those to a test later on, show you the differences. The main one is this Power Detect feature, that when you use one of their bigger 8 amp hour batteries that you can see pictured with it, it bumps up the power from 820 watts to 1072. Still fully compatible with all the smaller batteries, the 2 amp hour, 5 amp hour, and the Flexvolt batteries all work in this drill. But you will need one of these 8 amp hour batteries in order to get the extra power out of it. It has 11 different clutch settings. It's an electronic clutch, as well as the hammer action setting on it. You can see there there's the reverse, forwards and backwards for the trigger, and also hold. You can hold the trigger so it doesn't accidentally go off in your tool bag. Here we just go through the different clutch settings, and you can hear, actually, as you go through them, it speeds up. As well as the actual speed control changing the speed, so does the clutch. This is the LED light. Now the first setting is the lowest brightness, and then the second one's medium, but then the final one is not just a higher brightness, it also will stay on for 20 minutes, so you can use it as a torch. And you can see here, it really is quite good. It's quite powerful, just as a torch, so very useful if you're working in low light conditions. So also supplied with the drill is a belt hook. I'm personally not a fan of these. I don't ever use them, but I can see why some people would. I find I end up knocking it off my belt and it falls on the floor. But you can see it just screws on here, and each side of the drill, and this is common with a lot of Dewalt tools, has these two fixing points for various different accessories. Now, sadly, they don't actually, well, in the USA, this USA model that we bought, they don't actually include anything for holding a screwdriver bit. But you can buy these. In the States, you can get these. These are actually official DeWalt parts. I've had to import them myself, and these are far superior to the magnetic ones. I always find that the magnetic holders don't hold well enough, and you end up losing your screwdriver bits. There are some as well you can get that slide in, but they're a little bit less convenient than these types that actually where it clips in. You can see there the part number. So this is the 8 amp hour battery, and just as a comparison you can see there the 5 amp hour battery. Now one of the questions that you might be asking if you've got older Dewalt kit, which I certainly do, is will this work with the slide-on adapter for the older battery style? These adapters are only available, well, they're not available in Europe here. I've had to import these, but no, you can see it doesn't actually fit on the 8 amp hour battery. You can get them on eBay, but they tend to be all forgeries or fakes. You don't actually get the genuine ones. Well, not here in Europe. Some of them are very convincing fakes. You can tell the difference by the screws. Now, one thing it does work with is the slide-on USB adapter. Sadly, this only outputs, I think, 1.5 amps. It would be nice if they actually upped that a bit, or even better, if they produced a new one with USB-C and power delivery on PD, not to be confused with Power Detect, but power delivery, so you could charge up something like a laptop Now here's the two drills side by side, the 996 and 998. You can see that the actual casing is different. There's a different number of holes there. Also around the trigger, the grip is different as well. So it is a different casing, although they look very similar, that there are differences. Now we're going to move on to a concrete block test. We're going to use a 6mm brand new bit, a Dewalt Extreme masonry bit, and we're going to try it just to keep it fair. We're going to put it in the 996 first, so it's brand new, unused bit. So 6.1 seconds there with the DCD996 and a 5 amp hour battery. Now we're going to try it in the new DCD998 with its 8 amp hour battery. That's 4.3 seconds, so on the face of it, a lot quicker. Now we'll just try it in the 998 with a 5 amp hour battery. Still quicker. I mean, obviously there could be differences in the block, but there was definitely a difference there between the two drills and the two batteries as well. So, but maybe one that's more revealing is with a wood test. We used this brand new Milwaukee 32mm flat wood bit. Again, 996 first. .7 seconds. Now the 998 with a 5 amp hour battery. .9 seconds, a lot quicker. I mean, that's quite a difference there. And now with the 8 amp hour battery. That was a lot quicker, 5.6 seconds with the 8 amp hour battery. Now we're going to move on to the power detect feature and try the DCD998 with a few different batteries. Now we're going to try it with a Flexvolt battery. You can hear that was a lot slower, so unfortunately the power detect does not work with the Flexvolt battery. Same there with the 5 amp. Now just back to the 8 just to hear that speed. Much faster. Now we're going to move on to taking apart the DCD998. Now I bought a set of these long T torque bits. You need quite the length to be able to get actually to a couple of the screws. And they're on eBay. I got this for about $7. They're really not expensive. First thing you need to do here is to cut into the label or remove the label. For cutting it, I don't think it'll probably stick back on again if you peeled it off. There's 3 different labels actually you need to cut through. There's one there, and then there's one here that shows you the light indications, and one at the bottom. And if you don't do these, then you will struggle to get the casing apart. They join where the two halves of the sort of clamshell join together. So to take it apart, I'm going to use a Dewalt electric screwdriver, one of their 12-volt range, which is quite handy and does the job pretty quickly. This one has a variety of different torque settings, so it's fine for doing this sort of job. You can set the torque very low because they don't need to be done that tightly. It being plastic, you do risk, if you over tighten them and put it back together, you do risk actually wrecking the threads on the actual plastic. So there's quite a few screws to take out. Now the chuck on this is linked to the clutch, and the gearbox is all in one unit at the front, that metal bit. The back of it, where all the electronics are and the motor, are all inside the plastic housing at the back. So once you've taken out all these smaller screws, they are all the same length, apart from the four screws that hold the actual gearbox assembly to the back plastic bit. So these are bigger, but they're obvious which ones are which. Those come out there. You can get like a longer extension on there if you want to fully line it up, but I found just at a slight angle it's still fine to take the bits out. Now when it comes to taking it apart, it does require a little bit of prising apart, but not too much. So I'm opting for a small electrical screwdriver, but you could use a proper prise. I didn't actually mark the case doing it, so it's a fairly tough plastic housing, so it doesn't sort of chew up like a lot of things would. And you just need to just go around and just separate it out a bit. And then to actually get the whole thing apart, you do have to actually pull the sort of front assembly slightly out. So just lift it apart like that. And then it should start to come away. It does have a few sort of metal pins as well that hold it together, so they can be a little bit stiff. And also just check that that you've gone all the way through the stickers, and then just pull the front assembly apart, and then it should start to actually come to bits. And you can see one of the little metal pins there, but there we have it. Inside there you can see all the different bits and bobs that are inside there, the motor being at the top at the back. And it's a very similar looking motor to the motor on the 996, the DCD996, but it does actually have a different part number on it, so they are separate. So I'll just bring the 996 in just to show you the difference. There's a lot of similarities in there as well, but you can see there are some differences. And here's just a close-up shot of that motor and all the internal bits around the trigger there, and the reverse and forward and hold switch, that safety switch that stops the motor going if you've got it in a tool bag or something like that. You can see this is my older 996 I've been using for the last 4 years or so. So it's a bit mucky inside, whereas this is brand new, the 998. But very, very similar design, but obviously some changes there. And you can see there different part number on the motor. And there's some other changes it looks like as well inside for different components. It must have somewhere some circuitry that does the power detect for actually detecting which battery you've got in it. So that pretty much wraps it up. We'll just move on to the pros and cons. Pros of this drill: the power and speed of the drill is very impressive. I didn't think there'd be that much difference between the older 996, but actually there is. Also, it has a great battery life from this 8 amp hour battery. I've already used it for a few little jobs, and haven't had to charge the battery yet. The LED light, same as on the 996, very bright, very handy, very useful. Its position is very useful as well, being angled upwards at where you're working rather than being next to the trigger, because that tends to just cast a shadow there, whereas at the bottom it is really, really, really helpful to see. The handle also not what's pictured in this promotional picture is actually a shorter handle. That isn't what you get. You get a very long handle, very good if you do something that's liable to sort of jam, or you've got a lot of torque, you know, on one of the lower torque settings. But yeah, much appreciated. Also, it's metal now. The previous 996 was a plastic handle. Cons, well, disappointed that it didn't work in its power detect mode with a Flexvolt battery, with a 9 amp hour battery. It's quite disappointing. You know, I've got a few of those myself, and I've got a few Flexvolt tools, but it would have been nice if they'd have worked with this, especially if you were buying this without the battery. But as it is, if you want that extra power, you're going to have to buy one that is suitable for a power detect. And so far, the only battery that we know of that does is this 8 amp hour. We don't know, there is a 6 amp hour as well in the States. I mean, neither of these are available in the UK and Europe at the moment. It sort of stops at 5 amp hours. It doesn't go up to 6 or 8 unless you use a Flexvolt, which, as we've seen, doesn't go any faster. The only other negative I can really say about this drill is it's insanely noisy. But I mean, that goes with its, you know, it's got a fantastic hammer action on it, and it will make a lot of noise when you're drilling through a hard material. Thanks for watching this review of the Dewalt DCD998 Combi Drill. If you'd like to watch more reviews like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.